Hey guys, it's Alonso from Last Legacy Gaming, here doing my Vegito deck profile. I had a couple people request this profile, so I'm giving it to you guys. It's the updated one, and everything is pretty solidified. The only thing is a couple ratio changes here and there that keep changing depending on the meta. The meta is not definitive yet, so still have to wait for that. I might take this deck to Nationals, but if I do, it's mostly going to stay the same. But just some ratio changes with specific cards like counter stuff like that. But you'll see more of that as we get into it. Anyway, the way I said to have this deck profile set up is a little bit differently. Just give a quick overview. We have our leader, of course, Vegito, all colors. I'm not gonna go over that card. Then we have our basic plays that we always want to do, which would be this pile, and those are any of the Gokus and Vegetas. That'd be all these cards. We have 21. And then we have cards over here in this pile, which are energy efficient cards that give us energy, or make it so we have free, basically free plays. So that's going to be all these cards. We have 10 of those. And then we have a stack of all the utility cards and everything like that, like counters, the 4-star balls, super combos. And then over here we have all our big plays and game enders. So all bigger plays, so basic plays, energy efficient cards, other random tools, and then our game winners and bigger bodies, basically. So let's just get straight into it. Right. And first off, we're gonna go start off with our Gokus. So we play 4 Goku, the Legend Personified. This card is phenomenal because basically it just makes it so we have a lot of good draw ability in this deck, and it also has a great bond effect of being able to boost itself. That goes really clutch when you want to Union Patara and your Vegito is going to gain the boost. This card is just great. It does have unique, which is its only downfall. This card does so much because we want to be drawing with our hand traps and then basically evolving top of them so we never lose hand advantage. And your hand gets really big in this deck. Sometimes you are able to have like at least like, I've had hands where I've had like 20 cards in hand before. I'd say on average you have at least 12, and then you go up to higher to like 15 or so. But you usually always have a hand of at least 12 and up. So it's just really, really good. So yeah, play 4 of this card, really good hand trip and good body later in the game. Alright, then we played 3 Preface. This card is the heart of the deck. The only reason that we only played 3 is once you see 1, that's all you really need. You can start recycling them, and so you only need to see 1, so that's why we played 3, and space is really, really tight. We are playing 60. This deck is a mandatory 60. You cannot play this deck with any less than 60. The way this deck draws and goes through a deck so much, you're going to deck out, and there's been plenty of times where I've decked out or been very close. And if I was playing 50, I would have decked out immediately, basically. But so you need to be playing this deck at 60 and having a lot of draw ability, which is just what this deck does already. So yeah, so deck space is really tight, and it has to be 60. We played 3 of this because we played Familial Bonds, and basically this just goes amazing with that. Makes Familial Bonds a +3. Look this on your board, and then the 2 cards that you add to your hand with Dragon Ball. So it's just really, really good. Absolutely amazing. The only reason that we do play 3 is though because we only need to see 1 to start recycling it. But amazing card in this deck. Alright, then we play 3 Goku Resolve Renewed. This card is phenomenal. It is a negate, but most importantly, it's a Self-Awakener. You want to be Self-Awakening early in the game to basically be able to just start drawing when you awaken. So you'll do this or the Vegeta turn 1 that takes a life. Turn 2, you can they're gonna attack you on defense, and let's say on your turn 2 you play Piccolo, burn him, draw a card, put him down, let's say attack and at that point you're tapped out, which is fine. So either gonna attack your leader and awaken you and you don't have to do anything, or next turn you can play Vegito and Goku and awaken on your turn with Vegito, the 7 drop, and take life. So it's really, really good like that. So turn 1 you always want to play Self-Awakener, turn 2 you can play Piccolo Jr., turn 3 you can play Vegito, and on your opponent's turn 3 you can evolve and pop in their cards and awaken on their turn, so you don't have to untap. Basically, offensively you untap on your next turn once you're gonna be able to just have defense. But you're gonna tap out on your opponent's turn, so you're gonna be able to pop their cards when it's most valuable when they're attacking you. And basically just getting the most value, because that being able to evolve with the Activate Battle on the Vegito 5 drop from the Anniversary set, or the Expansion set, is just amazing. It's really, really good. So this card is really, really good and just helps you go onto how you want to go through your turn. So amazing card. Just 100% necessary. Just because you need the Self Awakeners. Alright, next we play for the Vegeta. We play this one specifically because it has barrier. It does have that counter effect, and blue is pretty prevalent, so it comes in clutch as well, so that's good. But mostly we just play it because of the hand trip that has barrier. But that secondary effect does come in clutch sometimes. And then we do play 2 Vegito, just under the hand trip. First effect doesn't matter at all, but we're just playing it because it's a 1-cost hand trip. That is a green. We were playing the blue one before, but this is green for our rivals later in the deck. We do only play 1, but that rival is honestly game winning. So we play 2 of those. Alright, and then we play 4 this Vegeta. This Vegeta is phenomenal. So first off, it's a counter play. Basically, if you're playing against green and they want a charismatic villain you, let's say you play Piccolo Jr. and they're going to try and hit you with Frieza. You just counterplay Frieza. They're not going to get anything to pop because Frieza has to play. So it's just really, really good. This card is phenomenal for what it does. And it does a lot for the deck because it self-awakens. It gives you a counterplay. You can play it for 1. It gives you a name. This card is 100% absolutely amazing. I would not play any less than 4. Alright. So next for any of the cards that are basically just fuel energy efficient, give us more fuel. We play 1 Phantom Fist, 1 Hasty Dispo, and then I'm going to put the Sensu Beans here. These all basically fill the same role of just giving you free energy or cheating cards out. Basically, Dispo, when you have no battle cards, you can play a 1-drop, so you can play any of your hand trips, basically make it so you can evolve, or you can just still do alliance with Piccolo for them. So this card does a lot. The only reason we do play 1, these fill the same role, basically, but the reason we're doing 1 and 1 is because the meta's pretty open right now. I'm going back and forth on which one I want to go with. Sometimes Phantom Fist is better, sometimes a Dispo is better, so I'm just playing 1 and 1 and deciding the rest. But until I'm absolutely sure how the meta kind of devolves and what I'm more confident, depending on the meta, I'm just keep it at 1 and 1. And I've been pretty happy with it. I also just like having a lot of 1-ups and having more tools and options, especially if I have a big hand. I'm able to use both, and just it's really, really nice. But we'll see as the meta evolves and it gets a little bit more solidified where we're going. It might stay this way. It might just go to 2 of this, but we'll see. And then Bean is obviously Bean does the same thing, gives us free energy. And then on the last of the cards that are to be energy efficient, we do play 4 Familial Bonds. This card is amazing because this gives you a free name with the Goku that untaps 2 energy and gives you 2 cards in the form of 4-star Dragon Balls. This card's amazing because it lets you play any of your Gokus and Vegetas, but it's more than that because this gives you the option. So usually you'll want to play Goku that untaps his name, Recovery, Preface of Recovery, that untapped, and that's usually your best play. But in certain circumstances, like if you're playing a hand control deck, you can just play this and play a 1-drop to draw a card and get 2 Dragon Balls. So basically you just got 3 new cards in that interaction, of course, with your body on board. And this card is just phenomenal for that. But this card is just really, really useful and does so much. And this card later in the game is always just going to be a plus. So you play this in the early game and you get your 2 Dragon Balls, and when you're going to be awakened, you're going to use a super combo and pop out one of your Dragon Balls. That way you can use it again and search out 2 more Dragon Balls. And basically this card just always gives you mad plus, will give you the exact name that you need anyway. So this card is absolutely phenomenal. This card is the heart of the deck. This and Sensu Bean are absolutely essential in the deck and keep the deck going so freely. Alright. And then next we have all our like tools and other stuff like that. So we play 3 4-star Dragon Balls. This card is just really good because you can search it out with Familial Bonds. This card's also good in certain circumstances, like if you're playing red blue and they might want to neg your card. This makes it so you can basically give it directly onto them instead of being a combo. In certain circumstances, this is just better. But for this time, this is just free cards to give away, free combo, and it's just you lose nothing with these cards. So this card's just phenomenal. You're always searching out at least 2. Like you usually always have 2 in your life, so you always plus right off Familial Bonds, and then you'll plus later once you put it in the bottom of your deck. So card is great. Card is great. Alright, well, then we play 1 Frieza's F-Ball, 1 Unending, and 1 Violent Rays for our negates that aren't a token one. Basically, I vouch for this 1-1-1 split because that's what I personally really like. Depending on how that format evolves, because it is still not solidified, I would say, because there's so many decks to top in. I like the 1-1 split anyway. If I any low to the ground decks, any higher decks that go tall, and then any just like general, this is just really good because sometimes you want to go on the kill, or sometimes you'll want your opponent to try and force, like you want them to go all in on you. Because you have a fat hand usually, and when they do that, this even makes it even easier for them to play into your hand. So a lot of times when I play, I'll purposely go down to 1 life and just let them attack with like a 25k like overwhelm. Like they're gonna play like SS4 dual attack Bardock or whatever, and they're gonna like think they're gonna go through, and they're on you. You're gonna assume that they're gonna overwhelm and try and hit you, and that's gonna be their plan. So the thing is that you do is that you let them get there. You go down to 1 life. By using like a blocker negate or something, and they think that you're in mad spot, and then you just let them go all in, and then go up to like 100 or something, and usually you can combo up to like 100 plus normally, even without this. But basically this gives you a little bit more wiggle room on how you want to play defensively or offensively, and I really like having the 1-of. You draw so much in this deck that you always usually see your 1-ofs. Like you go through at least 90% of your deck, so you're gonna usually see this, so that's why I really like them. This could change on what you would like, but I'm pretty much right now I'm really happy with this. This might stay. The only thing that might change is this might just be 2 violent rays depending on how format change. This might be 2 ending, but I think I'm just gonna keep the 1 freeze death ball because I am really liking that. But for now, this is the ratios, and I'm liking them so far. And then we play 3 testing opposition, just the best negate. Basically free Self Awakener, and because that's important in this deck, and later in the game, just another negate, and you can hard cast it if you have 2 energy open, or of course you can just take down the life. And like we were saying in the interaction, a lot of times you want your opponent to go all in on you, especially if you have Vegito. You have a lot of options to just that just positively affect you when your opponent's trying to go in on you. So it's just another great card that gives you all your cards and makes your opponent feel more comfortable to try and attack you. So yeah, I just really like this card. This card Self Awakens, has when you really need to, it's just a negate with another block. So basically it stops 2 attacks when you need it. This card just serves so many purposes. Just amazing card, 100%. Love that card. Wouldn't thought, and take that out. And then we play 4 Raditz. This card's phenomenal. This card does exactly what this deck needs to do. I'm not gonna explain this. It just does really a lot of work. And then we have all our big bodies, all our power plays, all our game enders basically. So we play 1 Assimilate, and we play 4 Piccolo Jr. Eradicator of Peace. I side 1 more Assimilate, but just because sometimes you don't want to see this depending on what matchup you have, because counterplays are just, this card can be affected by counterplays a lot. And one of my favorite things about this deck is it can play exactly how you want it. So we play 4 of that, and then we play 4 of Vegito. The reason I'm putting this together is to kind of explain how the deck works. This deck is very flexible in doing exactly what you want to do and how you want to do it. You can try and push aggressively and hit him with a triple strike with this, or slowly burn him and then just kill him when your turn 5 comes around or turn 6. And it's just like if you feel you're susceptible to something like barrier removal, you go low to the ground. Or if they have cards that hit low to the ground to the cards, you go up to Vegito to make you go tall. So basically you choose if you want to go tall or you want to go low, and your opponent really can't defend perfectly. They're not going to have all the options main for both of these options usually, and so usually you can capitalize on however you want to play the game. Let's say like if you're playing a deck that does not have has a lot of removal but has no barrier removal, like let's say black, you can play this and just keep poking and wearing down the resources. Or you can say like, oh, they're gonna have a lot of removal anyway, but their card's a little bit more heavier. Then you just play Piccolo Jr. attack, draw 2, attack, draw 2, and you're always gonna be plussing on those interactions. So you can play this deck exactly how you want it, and that's one of the best pieces of playing both of these engines. And I think both of these engines are absolutely necessary to keep this deck going. But this deck is these options right here for this deck are crucial and really good, and they really contrast really well. So I'm really happy with those. All right, and then we played 3 of the big Vegitos. Basically, this is what your Vegito 5 drop goes into. Really good triple strike. This is really good because you can evolve and activate battle into this during your opponent's turn, which is one of the biggest things about how you can play this deck, and it makes you feel really safe. And that's probably one of the most skillful parts of this deck besides charging, as well as just like this deck is very it's very punishable. If you don't make the right move, it's very punishable. But this makes you feel really safe and gives you a little bit of extra wiggle room because you can evolve during battle. That gives you a little bit more wiggle room and space. Sometimes you'll just keep this and keep attacking and not evolve immediately, and only evolve until you really need to, and you can pop something in your opponent's turn. And basically, if they don't have a lot of cards with barrier, this makes it so every attack they go in, they're gonna be afraid to go in because you can just capitalize on when you're gonna be putting you're gonna evolving and just popping their card and basically just turning the tide of that battle. Alright, and then we play our one secret rare. This card is phenomenal. 100% this is a secret rare for this deck. This card has won me so many battles. Basically, a lot of times you can just keep doing this. You just turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, on turn 5, you just attack with your leader, combo 2, play, win the game. It honestly feels... This is the only degenerate part of the deck I feel like is just this card. This card just does so much. 100% this is the secret of the play in this deck. Can't say enough about that card. Alright, and then we play 2 Secret Identity because we want the removal. Card's really good. Gives us some good options and gives us the removal because this deck is lacking on a couple things. As we always, I think any deck that isn't blue always wishes they had more energy. But this deck really thrives off having more energy. That's why I have a lot of cards that give you basically pseudo-free energy or free plays. And Secret Identity is another free play that does removal. It does a lot for what we need. So just any free plays and removal are really good for this deck. And those are like the only weak points of this deck. So 2 Secret Identity definitely fill in that role perfectly. And then the last card we play is 1 Foosh, Shrouded in Mystery. Card is amazing. This card wins games. Basically, so you have a lot of win cons. You have this, basically these. So basically, you're just slowly going to be dwindling your opponent down by a lot of ways, or you can push in really aggressively depending on what you do. But you either go turn 5 and just win with this, or you go turn 6 and just play this and win. Basically, so in any circumstance, you have the option of do you want to play Foo or Scramble, or you can just go all in and just go in with a lot of attacks with like Piccolo and then have Vegitos open to go into Hyper Rush during battle and then be able to triple strike. So like you have a lot of ways and options of basically how you want to go through it. And that's my favorite thing about this deck is you have a lot of tools and options, and that's why you definitely be playing 60 or else you won't be able to fit in all the options. But basically now you're able to punish however your opponent can basically play around or be prepared for. So you're able to punish and like capitalize on anything. So yeah. Anyway, guys, that is the deck. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really love this deck. If you guys have any comments or concerns or any recommendations or something crazy like that, or any like stories about you playing the deck, please let me know. I love this deck and I would love to hear it. But thank you guys so much for sticking around till the very end. I know that was a kind of a long video, but I appreciate you guys and I hope you guys have a good one. Bye now.